Welcome to SORMAG's Writers Café, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host. This episode is sponsored by Virtual Tea with LaShaunda Promotion Strategy Sessions. Today, sitting with me at the cafe is Tiffany Gilbert, Jay Granberry, and Vanessa Riley. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Each of the authors will share who they are and tell us a little bit about their current book. And we will start with Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany Gilbert. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. The name of my book is Saved and Filled with the Holy Spirit. And this book was actually a book I was asked to write about. I've never written a book about church, so it was kind of hard. But the book I typically write about, like street lit books and things like that, and those type of books. So the book was kind of hard because I actually had to put my feelings to the side and actually think about other women and some of the things they was going through.
Okay, would you like to read an excerpt for us?
Yeah. Chapter 1, the beginning. Ever since the day I was born, I've been in church. I was what you call a pre-K. I know some of you are wondering what that is. Well, it's short for a preacher's kid. Let me get right down to who I am exactly. My name is Sasha Johnson, and I have a twin whose name is Sean Johnson. My parents were Pastor Gregory Johnson and First Lady Georgia Johnson. At 22 years old, I was in college for nursing. I only went away from school because I was tired of living under my parents' roof. I needed to live my own life and not live the life that my parents wanted me to live. My parents' life revolved around the church, St. Luke's Baptist Church, that on the corner of Longview and Dickinson in Detroit, Michigan. St. Luke's was one of the most talked about churches here in Michigan. My parents hadn't always been saved and filled with the Holy Ghost. My mother, Georgia, was a hustler's wife, and my father was the biggest drug dealer Detroit has ever seen. My father got shot 10 times, decided if God let him live, he was going to change his life around. When my father got shot, my mother was pregnant with me and my twin, Sean. My mother loved to live the fast life right along with my father, so I was surprised they even turned to the church. We weren't allowed to ask any questions about their past life like it was a sin, but I always wanted to know what it would have been like to live the ghetto fabulous life.
Ghetto fabulous life. Sounds interesting. MJ, you up?
Okay, I am Jay Granberry. I like to refer to myself as Las Vegas's resident romance author. I write contemporary romance. I am moving into some kind of darker themes. The book we're going to be talking about today is my debut novel, which is Exquisitely Broken. It's the first in a series of 3, so I wanted to start with that one. It's a second chance romance for those that like that type of thing. I have been getting all the hate for this one because he is a little difficult to like, my hero. I'll do a quick kind of introduction excerpt, and yeah, we'll go from there. So let's see. It is, oh dang, I lost my page. Sorry, y'all. Okay. I watched Finn walk across the room, all graceful poise and swaying hips, and my instinct went to war with my common sense. Conventional wisdom would say approaching her in a room full of people after years of resentment and hurt feelings wasn't a good idea. But as I tracked her movements, watched her with the intensity typically reserved for a lion stalking its prey on the Serengeti, I had to fight the urge to break her off from the herd and pounce. I wanted to peel her out of that dress and take inventory of all the things that had changed or stayed the same since we'd last seen each other. I wanted to wrap my hands in the springy curls of her hair and watch her eyes melt into mine as our lips met for the first time in 4 years. More than anything, I wanted to repent at the altar of sin, sink to my knees and beg forgiveness. Worship her body with my body. Remind her how my hands felt against her skin and how much she liked my face pressed into her wet core. That's me.
Okay. Vanessa, you ready?
Well, that's something to go behind, right? I'm Vanessa Riley. I write historical fiction and historical romance. My bodies of work, which right now is probably hitting over 20, focuses primarily in Regency London and the West Indies. There's a lot of history of our people that has been hidden, and I feel it's a privilege and my pleasure to be able to bring these stories to life. Tonight I'm going to read for you out of my book, A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby. Think First Wives Club meets Three Men and a Baby. And the heroine has escaped from Bedlam. Patience Jordan is a West Indies heiress who's been living in London. She's widowed, and her infant son has been taken from her. And she's literally sneaking in to feed her son at night. So we're going to start. February 1st, 1814, London, England. It was a universal truth that no matter her background, face, or charms, a widow in possession of a fortune would be targeted for theft. In my circumstances, I'd been cheated of everything, even my greatest gift. Now was the time to defy authority, to strike and win. I'd almost been caught. My breath came in waves as I leaned against the closed nursery door. I squeezed my stomach tight as my shut lashes, and I waited for someone to push inside. So close, only to be captured. My heart ticked, numbering the follies of my life, so full of memories sliding down a sloping banister, the chatter of silly sisters, a stranger's whisper at sunset, a blur of signatures on a marriage contract, then a well-written love note, a note of love, of suicide. My soul was about to explode. Laughter filtered beneath the door. Then the haunting footsteps moved away. Maybe a maid entered the bedroom down the hall. I swallowed the lump building in my throat. The knot of bitterness went down. Slow. It burned. This was my house. Those were my servants. Those servants once worked for me. Now I was reduced to sneaking inside Hamlin Hall. With a shake of my head, I stopped thinking of my failures and focused on my mission, my sole purpose, my Lionel. My feet slipping in my borrowed boots, I tiptoed to his crib and peeked at my baby. His wide hazel eyes seized me. Tiny hands lifted, but he made no sound, no cooing or crying. I pacified myself, thinking my smart boy didn't want more trouble dropped on my head. Not that he'd learned to soothe himself from neglect.
Ooh, that was a good entrance. You all had great excerpts. That was really good, intriguing, make you want the next page. That's a good one. Okay, so I would like to know, how are you all dealing with this quarantine?
Well, this is Tiffany. I actually work in a nursing home, so I'm still working. I'm a staffing coordinator, so I have a lot of staff that's been off, that's scared to come to work, that even caught the COVID. So every day is like a challenge to me, coming from having staff to not having staff. And we're just now getting the hero pay, and we have one unit that's actually dedicated to the COVID. So, every day it's just a battle, and it's just a struggle every day. So, I just try to stay positive and uplift my staff and try to do things for the staff 2 times throughout the week, like we feed them or whatever. And this week is our spirit week. So it's like every day is just a struggle, and I'm just will actually be glad when all this is actually over with, so everything can go back to normal.
Definitely understand that. My daughter is a nurse, She works at a nursing home and a hospital. When we first started, she wasn't dealing with the COVID-19. Now she is. They had a couple of patients in the nursing home, and she's been working on the whole floor with it in the hospital. So I understand. We've been praying. I will definitely add you to my praying list because it's just we don't know. So you're in limbo, and it's horrible being in limbo. So I definitely commend you for going to work. A lot of people don't want to. They don't feel safe. So, so that's good that you're there to support your staff.
Thank you.
MJ?
There we go. I am still trying to get the hang of this. I'm trying to mute and unmute and listen. But for me, I'm working as well, but I work on the opposite end of things. I am basically a manager for dispatch for the police department here. So I teach baby dispatchers to talk to police on the radio. And right now, of course, we have a lot of things that are escalating just because people are trapped indoors with each other. Creatively, it is killing me because it seems like I have to compete and balance so many other things now. So the administrative side of writing, I'm doing beautifully. I'm like, yes, I will send you your email and I will do this and let's work on that book cover. But on the creative side of things, I can't seem to get my mind to settle down enough to meet my deadlines and to write the numbers, the amount of words I need to write a day to meet my quotas, I guess you would say, or my goals. But I'm getting there. So I am always a glass half full type of girl. So I try to look at the positive of it. Like, I am working. I have a paycheck. That is a beautiful thing. I have a second, stream of income because I'm writing, and that's a beautiful thing. There are a lot of people who don't have that, so you have to be thankful for what you have and move forward from there. But, yeah, so quarantine has been difficult for me. I'm a homebody, too, by nature. I like to be on my couch with my TV and my laptop. I'm like, I done seen enough TV, and I done seen enough of my couch. Can I please see something different? So, yeah, that's me. Anyway.
You sound like me. That's how I am. I am a homebody by nature, but I've never worked from home, so this has been a eye-opening experience working from home. And like you, my creative side has been in the closet, is like hiding, and my administrative, the SORMAG side, is working fine. I'm doing good. I'm having things and doing ads and doing all that stuff. That's fine. But my characters were like, nope, we don't want to talk to you. We distressed.
Right? Yes, that's what I am. It's like,
and it's like,
okay, I didn't outline. I know you in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You can come out.
Yeah, I think that side of our brain shut down completely because for me, I think it's the stress. When I'm stressed, I work, and so I can do that. I didn't realize that when I'm stressed, I can work on stuff like that. But when it comes to being stressed and creative side, my mind is fried, and so I was like, oh, okay, this is
it's
different.
like the administrator. You're like, I can check some boxes, but when it comes to actually creating something, that's what it is for me. When it comes to creating something, my brain is like, girl, bye. We ain't got time for this.
Yep. I've been learning how to ease it out slowly, and I found that sometimes in the morning when I first wake up, the people want to talk to me. So, and usually at 2 o'clock. It's not when I want to wake up at 7. 2 in the morning.
Yes.
Go, hey, your mind.
What's been working for me is dictating. That helps me more. Is actually talking to my computer. Like, okay, and this is what she said, and this is what she did, and then it starts to kind of flow like normal versus just typing. That tripped me out. I was like, oh,
And that's exactly what happened to me. Yep, that exactly happened to me. I use Evernote. I tell people about Evernote all the time, but they have a dictation on there, and that's one night, 3:00 in the morning, and I was like, I am not getting out this bed to find some paper. And she was like, you don't need paper, hit the Evernote. And I just the Evernote. Thank God my husband was at work because he probably would have thought I was crazy. But I mean, I did like 4 chapters that way, and then I laid down and they closed my eyes and went back to sleep. I was like, that was weird.
Into that.
Yeah,
because
but I love Evernote.
Microsoft One,
and
it actually has the same thing. It's like, it has a record in my Microsoft program. So I haven't used Evernote. I'm gonna have to try that out.
Yeah, Evernote is on your phone, so you got it with you all the time. And it types my stuff. I don't know if yours types yours or just records.
It does.
Yeah, and so once it recognized my voice, I've been using it probably about 3 or 4 years now. And so I did Nano just doing it that way. I would get up every morning and read and say my little speech or whatever I'm doing, and the chapters, and I was like, I wonder, can I do this for a whole book? And I did, and it was amazing because I was so used to opening up the computer and typing, and I didn't have to type. So that was a great thing. Miss,
let me ask you this: does it format?
Oh, now you know it don't format. No, you got to copy and paste it into something else. So that's fine with me because I usually just revise over and set it up and format it that way. So no, it does not format. If they did that, it would be wonderful.
Because that's the thing that's killing me with the Microsoft One is like, okay, I can talk all day, but then I have to go back through and go, okay, no, I want to break this, and it got to stop there, and this needs quotations, and okay.
That's the second draft. I just look at it like that. It's either that or typing yourself. Was that your way of saying, girl, stop being lazy? Okay, I heard. Right. I heard, girl. I heard. Okay. Miss Vanessa, do you have anything? How are you dealing with the quarantine?
Of course. Well, see, I was on deadline for the most of the quarantine, so this is my normal life, right?
Okay.
So, I work with my software company, so I'm always on the computer, and I usually work remotely. And once again, I'm on deadline, so I'm always in front of my computer. So it was not a thing, and I keep looking at everybody tripping. I'm like, y'all are trying to be about this life. Okay. If anything, it was when my husband was home. It's like he's supposed to come up and talk. I'm working. I'll still work it. But
people don't understand that either. They don't understand that. Me and my sister, she probably calls me 3 times a day. What you doing? I'm like, I'm at work. She didn't respect that when I was at the job. So I knew she wasn't gonna respect it if I came home. And she's like, you ain't doing nothing. You just sitting at the desk. I'm like, seriously? I'm typing stuff. I'm doing reports. Now. Okay, but then I tease her because she works for Ford, and I'm like, well, if you're calling me, what are you doing? you at work too. So, yeah, they don't respect the work time.
But focusing on deadlines. So to me, as long as I know when things are due, that's kind of that breaks through everything. If I don't have a deadline, then my mind will wander. Because I try and break it down to how many words I need to be putting out a day, a week, in order to stay on target and task. So that keeps you focused, keeps you from watching the news, keeps you in the things that are going to help you get to the end of your goal.
See, I haven't gotten to the deadline stage yet, so that's what I think that your life is different when you are on a deadline because somebody needs this book, whereas when you self-publish, you're like, I'll just sit on the couch a little longer.
Oh, no. LaShaunda, when I self-publish, I put myself on deadline.
But you knew that. You knew that. I don't. See, I don't. So now that's what I'm doing now. I'm like, I need an end goal here. I need an end date, young lady, because you will never finish it if you don't have an end date.
You won't. If there are no defined deadlines and goals, you will never get it done because it will always take a lesser priority. So I'm a firm believer you set goals, you set deadlines and timelines, and trying to make them realistic because, this is a stressful time, right? And, people have life activities. So if you set an unrealistic goal and it doesn't get done, that just makes you not want to set any goals. So my thing is know how fast you write, set a realistic goal, and just get it done. Get her done, man.
That's very good advice. Very good advice. Thank you. I needed that in my life. If you could tell your younger self anything to do differently with your writing, what would it be?
I think I would have started sooner writing books because I've always was a writer. I always wrote poems, but I didn't really know that I really wanted to be a writer until maybe like 2008, and I would always say like, oh, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book. And people didn't take me serious. And so when me and my husband first got together, I sat down, and I started writing my first book. And then I was like, oh, you know what, this is not going to work for me. And then I would put it down, you know what I'm saying, and I wouldn't continue to write it. And then I would be like, okay, let me go back to it, and I would keep writing, then I would stop writing, I would write, I would stop writing, and then eventually I was like, you know what, let me finish this book because this book is important. I said I was going to do this, and this is something I need to do. This is what I want to do. So I think I would have started sooner writing books than I did because I think I would be further along with writing my book.
What about you, MJ?
I think if I could tell my younger self anything, it would be to follow my own voice. When I first got introduced to publishing, I'm going to say it that way, I allowed the market to set my voice. I allowed editors to change my voice. I allowed beta readers to change my voice. I allowed agents to change my voice. And what I would get all the time was, well, you are black, but you're not black enough. And, well, you're not white enough. You're not enough. And that was the message that kept coming out. So these characters that I was writing, they didn't know how to market them. And because they didn't know how to market them, it wasn't, we need to find your market. It was, you need to change how you write to fit this market. And when I was, 28, that made sense to me. I was like, I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, cut myself off from this industry that I love, that I've always wanted to be a part of. And it wasn't until I was like, you know what, this is my story, this is me, this is who I am, like it, love it, hate it, or whatever, I don't care, that I started to find my stride as a writer. And I'm much more comfortable in my shoes now, so I can tell my story. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't really, if you don't get it, then I'm not the right writer for you. But there are, for every one person that doesn't, there are 10 people who do. So I just have to find those 10. So that's what I would have told myself.
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have because I know when I started, I couldn't get into the box that they kept trying to put me in. And so I just put my books in the closet. I didn't get them published. I went on and did the magazine. And, I was like, well, one day I'll publish them, But I found out about a month ago that I wasn't writing what I thought I was writing. So that's why I couldn't fit into the box. I was a circle. I wasn't a square. And so that was really, and it was so eye-opening for me because I was like, I was writing what I always said I wanted to write. I wanted to write about family, and I wanted to have romance in it, and I wanted I would call it a series. Each sister had a story, and I realized, okay, this is not the typical romance that I fell in love with this is women's fiction. And when I realized that it was women's fiction, all of the criticism that had been getting, all the you need to change this, you need to change that, finally hit me is why it wasn't fitting into their box, because that wasn't what the book was about. And I was like, oh, wow. So I'm like, okay, I can pull them out the closet and do something with them, versus them sitting there and I'm like, it's never going to fit the market. That's not what the market is looking for, and the market don't know what they're looking for.
I think there are a million different writers. There are a million different fans for each type of writer. And what I have found, I don't know about you ladies, but what I have found is they always kind of go, well, this worked for this writer, so it'll work for you. Mm-hmm. Well, this is how such and such did it, so this is what you need to do. Well, it's like for example, I'm from Las Vegas, very culturally diverse. It's like I grew up with friends of different ethnicities, different sexual backgrounds, different whatever, because that's what is here. I don't know what it's like to be in a neighborhood that is anyway segregated. I've never lived like that. So how do you expect me to write that story if that's not my story? Mm-hmm. So I think it's like, just because it worked for, Terry McMillan, just because it worked for Eric Jerome Dickey, two very, very different writers, write completely day and night different, in my opinion. But they each tell a different aspect of our community, and they didn't necessarily follow the same path. So it's like you have to be okay with paving your path, and I don't think I was as a younger woman. I think I wanted to be told what to do, how to do it, and the surefire way to this is how you're going to get this done. And what I had to realize was, no, there is no surefire way, but keep your head down, do the work, and you'll see the results if you're consistent.
What about you, Miss Vanessa? What would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself, one, when you know the craft, it all comes down to the basics. Know the craft as quickly as you can and master that. Because once you master the craft, then you have power. And you can understand whether if there truly is no box for you to fit in, or, because you get a lot of feedback, a lot of criticisms sometimes. And if you don't understand the craft, then you don't know whether they don't like you, they don't like your words, they don't like your topics. You can't pick through. But the sooner that you know the craft, the easier it is for you to understand the criticism and to be able to deal with it. So that would be the first thing. Always know the craft. The second thing is, once you figure out and you know the craft and your box doesn't line up, make your own box. Mm-hmm. And then don't just half-step that other box. You go with all the gusto and you push forth, because what it is mainstream publishers will tell you that no one wants your work. What they really mean is they don't know how to market your work. And they're not going to take you on unless they think that they are going to be able to make sales. And sometimes you have to prove there's an audience. So sometimes you have to step out of the box. You have to indie publish, and you do it at the same level as if it was going to be traditionally published, because you have to prove a point that there's an audience looking for the types of stories you want to tell. So if anything, I would tell younger self, make sure you know that craft inside and out, and then determine where you are, and whether it's going a traditional path or you're going an independently published path, you go with gusto, because you're proving a point that your stories have a place.
I love that. I needed you to tell me that 20 years ago. 20 years ago. I learned the craft, but I didn't think about stepping outside of the box, because I only knew of one box, and when I published my own book, I realized that I had stayed in that box too long, that I could have did what I wanted to do, and now I thought I needed the validation. And I learned publishing my own book that you don't need anybody's validation but yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you just get one reader that bought your book, that one reader loved it. You know, and so I would have told my younger self to kick the box out the door. and don't be so afraid. I've been so afraid for so long that nobody would like my stuff. And as my mother used to tell me, well, they can't like it, LaShaunda, until they read it. And so I would be finish the book and put it out there. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like with my very first book, the voices in your head made me whitewash my own first book. Mm-hmm. Because I knew that people didn't understand the history and they wouldn't see the diversity. Mm-hmm. With my second book, I wanted to write the stories, to trust my voice, and write the stories I wanted to write. And as I was telling you earlier, my agent just couldn't sell it. She good woman, she just couldn't sell it. And so I independently published to bargain, and I brought those stories, and I brought the history, and I showed people how we were during those time frames, and it exploded. You make your own box, but once again, you know that craft, and you mm-hmm. step out there in full gusto, and you let the gift you've been given open the doors for you.
And I really admire you for that, because I watched you as you blossomed coming out, and you weren't afraid to share your journey with others, and I really respected you for that, because sometimes people tell you, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, when they know they wasn't. You know, you shared the journey, you know, and you weren't afraid to say this is what's going on, this is what's not going on, and I really appreciate that as a person who was coming behind you. I was like, okay, she did this is what she did, and this is how she did it, this is how she promotes, and you know, and that was very helpful. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you. That's how we make it. We've got to share our pieces of the journey, because mm-hmm. I firmly believe if it wasn't for Miss Bev, giving me encouragement and just so many others, I wouldn't be where I'm sitting right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take a break for our sponsor. This episode's sponsor is Virtual Tea with LaShaunda, Promotion Strategy Sessions. Are you frustrated by your promotion? It's time for a Virtual Tea session with LaShaunda. Inside this session, we discuss your promotion struggles and how to start a promotion plan. I offer you tips on how to be consistent with your promotion, how to find readers, how to use social media in your promotion plan, and tools to improve your promotion so you can become the social butterfly you are meant to be. Check the show notes for the links so you can schedule your Virtual Tea promotion strategy session and get on track to being a social butterfly. Welcome back to the SORMAG Writers Café. Today I am chatting with Tiffany Gilbert, Jay Granberry, and Miss Vanessa Riley, and it's been really interesting learning from these ladies and talking to them about their writing. And I have so many questions, but so little time. One of my questions is about research. I am a research girl. Sometimes I go into research more and don't come back out of it. Do you all research? Well, I know Vanessa does, but do you ladies research for your books? And how long do you take before you start writing it?
Well, I do a little research, but everything that I write is off the top of my mind. Mm-hmm. Like, I know what I want to write about when a story comes to me, when characters come to me. I just pull out my computer and I just start writing. The only thing that I kind of like research, if it's like a different state I haven't been to or something like that, different things that go on in the state. But other than that, everything is like off the top of my mind, and I just let my fingers take over what I want to write.
And I seem to fall down the research hole. I try to be accurate, even though it is fiction. So, for example, first book, I had a shooting. So I was like, okay, what kind of gun would you use? How would you shoot? How does a person take down a person who is shooting? And I can do that for hours. I actually have to limit myself and go, when you get the information, just stop reading. Because I can tend to get a little deep in the sense that, or not in the sense, but I can go way deeper than I need to, which stops me from writing. And I don't know, I just get into fascinating topics. I think they're fascinating anyway. So trying to pull myself out of it can be difficult. But I love research.
Vanessa?
Yeah, I love research, and from everything, like the book I was just working on, Island Queen. I'm covering 60 years of history from 1756 to 1824. Well, the style of clothes changes every 5 to 10 years, and that has to be reflected. The way people wore their hair, whether it was powdered or not, whether there are buckle pins in it, that all changes, and you have to know that. You have to know the different class strata. What were the slaves wearing? What were the wealthy people? What were the free coloreds? You've got to know all of those different aspects, because all of that lends the credibility to the story. So I've got like a ton of research, and I use a program called Scrivener, and I literally have my world set up in there so that once I figure something out, I'm not trying to research that again. So I have my timelines for the clothing. I have timelines for different movements. I have timelines for wars. Because the worst thing you could do, and I've seen people do this, was in 1820, the king died. Now, that kings do that. The kings do die. But no one for like the next 6 months is to wear anything but black. So if you ever read a book set in 1820 and you see them partying and dancing, that person did not do their homework, because there should be in black for like the next 6 months. It's actually a little longer than that. And then you go to half mourning, which is all gray, but men had to cover their buttons with black. I mean, it's a hot mess in order to show proper mourning for the king. But once again, those are the levels of things you got to understand in order to showcase it, because I want somebody to read what I write and be transported and feel like they're there.
That's one of the things I love about historicals, is being transported to that time frame. And it's always amazing to me when they try to say that we weren't there. And I'm like, yeah. You just don't want to acknowledge that we weren't there, but we're everywhere. So it's always cool when we slide in when they say we're not supposed to be there. So I always look for that.
Didn't you know we were kings and queens in Africa? Then we were transported in a spaceship and dropped back in the United States in 1865.
Right. Oh, my God, it's interesting. And then when they try to tell you your history, well, that's not right. I've had that a couple of times. That would not happen. How do you know?
I have been threatened to be kicked off the diaspora by a number of people who don't even know our history. So it is what it is, and it's a universal thing, because our education system has totally failed, and there's a conspiracy to forecast us as one type of individual in history, always as a victim. Because if you take away the possibility of what we've been, it strips away what we could be. Exactly.
I always tell my kids, look how long we've been here. We ain't going nowhere. we started it. We started the world. They don't want to admit that, but we did. What are your views on social media marketing?
I think that with social media marketing, that I always tell like my authors that the book world will eat you up and spit you back out. And that's how I view, with the books and everything, because the book world is I'm not going to say it's small because I've always read books, and, like, it's a difference now. The authors back, like, in, like, the 90s and early 2000s, they were nothing like the authors that's out now, you know, and it's, like, it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, like, how to even explain it. Like, it's very different. But I tell them, like, the book world is very different, and you have to be on your P's and Q's. You have to know, you know, when to pick your battle and when not to pick your battle. You know, like, everything don't deserve a reaction from you, and there's gonna be people who not gonna like your book, who's not gonna like you, who's going to leave bad reviews, and you just have to have a tough skin to actually be in the book world. And if you don't promote your books, you will never see any profit from your books. And I feel like it's about knowing the knowledge of being in the book world, getting the knowledge from other people, because you can never stop learning something from somebody else. Making sure that you push yourself to the extreme, because it's your work. You have to push yourself. You have to make sure that your work get out there. And, I mean, it's crazy because it took me 16 books to actually understand exactly, you know what I'm saying, what was going on. Like we were saying earlier about being in this box. And, like, I grew up, like, a different way. So the books that I read is exactly what I write. And I didn't want to keep being in this box. So the last book that I wrote, I decided to step outside of the box. But I wanted to combine the two. And I didn't, you know what I'm saying? You know, like, you hear a lot of people say, like, oh, yeah, a lot of people go through things like this. I never really knew that people went through the things that my book was actually talking about. And I just, you know what I'm saying, you just have to really stay focused and keep your eye on the prize, because these are your goals at the end of the day. And if nobody else want to see you win, you have to want to see yourself win. And I just try to install that in my authors. They're all females, and I try to push them to the extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like, every day, write something. If you get writer's block or something, you know, and something else comes to you, start another story, you know. But make sure that you promote yourself, promote your work, get people out there that want to hear your work. But always remember, everybody is not going to like you. Everybody's not going to like your work. Everybody's not going to, you know, read your books. Everybody is not going to be for you, you know. And you just have to find your crowd and your audience and your supporters that's going to be for you. So I think, like, the book world and the promotion thing, it has a lot with people, like, getting people blocked and different things like that, and getting people books taken down, and, you know, it's a lot. And I think a lot of this stuff, like, is especially, like, with the Leo Sullivan thing that's going on with the author's money being taken and different things like that. A lot of that is just, like, crazy, because I grew up reading, like, these books, and you would never think, like, so much scam would be going on, you know, like, with people in their books and people that pour their heart out into it. So I think, like, it just has to be a lot. You just have to put your all into making sure that you promote. You don't always just have to promote online. You can promote different ways. You can promote on T-shirts. You can promote on having book events. You know, it's different types of promotional things that you can do. You don't always have to be front and center on the Internet. It's way different more things you can do. You have to put yourself out there. You can promote on the radio. You know, send your books to different people that's in the industry or anything, you know what I'm saying, to get your work out there. They are human too, and they read books as well. It's just about how you go about promoting your work and how you go about getting your work out there.
That's some good advice. I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and when I started, we didn't have social media. So I think that for me, we have way more authors than we had 20 plus years ago.
I agree.
The big names, it was who you heard of. You didn't hear about what we call the mid-list people. You didn't hear about them. But with social media, you get to hear about everybody, and you get in people's business, and you hear about the scams and things like that. Most of the time, you heard about that when you went to an event, and somebody go, "Did you hear about so-and-so?" And, you know, now people tell all. And so that's the biggest difference that I see, the literary world hasn't really changed that much. It's still very hard to break into. Even as an independent person, it's hard because readers are very loyal to who they read. And so you got to figure out how you can get underneath it and get into their book buying pocket, you know. And so you can't do that. And social media helps a lot because they see you, you know. If it was just to go into a bookstore, we wouldn't have as many books as we have because the bookstores wasn't buying independent people. So, you know, you only saw the books that were from the big name publishers. So I think for me, the social media has helped a lot with the writers. It helps and it hurts. You just how you work it.
Mhm. Like I agree with that, but I think like the authors back then, like Hilda Clark and Triple Crown Productions, and you know those authors and stuff, Zane and Carl Weber, you didn't hear their drama. You know, you didn't hear the hating or the, you know, everything they went through. You didn't hear those things.
Yes, you did. You just wasn't in the right circles. That's why I said the literary world ain't changed. It's a whole bunch of biting and snapping and people taking your books and then don't put the books out, or they claim they're going to send you your royalty checks and you don't get your royalty checks. Believe me, it's been going on for 20 plus years. This ain't new. This ain't new stuff. You just got a new crowd of people who doing the same mess, you know. So you just have to do your research and know who you can trust and who you can't trust.
You're right, because you know what? I would go to the library and I would get books, but it would be authors I've never even heard of, you know, and, like, I've read well over 1,000 books. Like, in my in-between time, like, I feel like when I read books, it helps me with my writing as well, because you get to see in each author, you get to see their writing style and compare it to your writing style. Everybody's writing style is not the same. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said, like, you learn some things from other writers because you get to see, okay, well, this person write like this, you know, and, you know, maybe I could learn something from this person. So each book that I read, it takes me back, and when I write my book, I learn something and I take something from it because it helps me better myself and better my books. With each book, I become better.
And so that's how you grow as a writer. You're supposed to get better with each book. It shouldn't be the same, you know. And when I tell people all the time that come into this business, you have to do your research. Like you researching your characters, your settings and stuff. You also need to do research on the market, on the businesses, on the business side of writing. Even if you do an independent yourself, you need to know what stuff. You know, somebody asked me how much it costs to print a colored book. And she thought it was high, and I was like, that's normal. I said, you can, you know, get some more bids, but that's about the normal price. So you need to know that. You need to know if I'm going to pay $15 a book or I'm going to pay $3 a book, you know. So you have to be prepared. You can't come in here with your blinders on thinking, oh, I'm going to sell a book and everybody going to love me because the haters are out there, believe me. The haters are out there. So, and the people who are really loyal and love your books and there for 20 plus years are there too. So you know there's a good side to it too. MJ, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you finished? I didn't want to look at nobody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay. Social media marketing for me is strictly about promotion. I don't do it with the expectation of turning a sale. It's a long game for me, and it exposes people to who I am, to how I write. I hate social media. I do not like it at all as far as like parties and promotions and things like that. My PA does that. On Facebook group, like my Facebook group, I actually love those girls. So I'm a little freer in there. I do not post pictures of my kids. I do not, you know, everything I do is very conscious and specific when it comes to my social media marketing. I think that it can be used in a great way. Like I started working with Book in Maine, And what I did for an upcoming series that I'm working on, it doesn't release until the end of the summer, is I put character sketches up on this social media platform called Book and Main. And that really worked great for me because it introduced new people to my writing. It introduced people who were interested in the series to the tone. It was a great resource. So it's like I'm learning the tools that work for me, and the things that don't, I just don't do, like the Facebook parties. I don't do that. So what I've had to learn with social media is I get to choose what I put out there, and I have to be comfortable with it because, of course, my marketing team, my PR, is like, no, you have to do all the parties, you have to be all the places, you have to be on Facebook, you have to answer messages. And I'm like, look, I still have a life outside of this, and I don't like it. So for people who do like it, I'm assuming they love that engagement. For me, it's really difficult because, once again, I'm a homebody, so it feels invasive. It feels like people being in my space, and that was very uncomfortable for me. So now I've set it up where I'm comfortable with the interaction. I try to always be genuine. I try to actually give them a glimpse of me in every post, in every whatever. Like my Motivation Mondays is always a hip-hop lyric because that's just me. That's how I roll. I have different days of the week that we talk about various topics or whatever, and I like that engagement, but I had to be really specific and protective of, I guess, my space because social media is not where it's at for me. And I also think that people have to get comfortable with knowing the different types of, there's a difference between, grassroots marketing and social media marketing and advertising, you know what I mean? And I think once you start to understand those differences, you can actually target your group more specifically and better, which is what I do. Yeah, that's me.
That's good. You got a great plan. I tell my clients all the time to do the stuff that you're comfortable with, the stuff that's fun. Because if it's fun, you're going to do it. If you're uncomfortable, you're going to feel uncomfortable, and you're not going to do it. And so, and I tell people all the time, social media is what you put out there. People always say, oh, I hate social media. I hate the people in my feed. And I'm like, you do get to choose who's in your feed. If you got a bunch of crazy people in your feed, hide them or delete them. You don't have to deal with them. You don't have to share pictures of your family unless you want to share pictures of your family. You don't have to talk about what you ate today unless you want to share what you ate today. You choose what you want to share to your community. And then you can't get upset when your community knows stuff that you didn't want them to know because you told them.
And that's it. I have no desire. It's like, but I had to learn that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I think when you are first starting and you have your PR person and you have your agent and, you have all of these people going, hey, you got to get out there. You got to put yourself out there. This is what the hot new thing is. You have to do it. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier. You have to be comfortable with you and say, nope, that's not what I do. That's not how I do this. That's not my role. Like, for example, when I did the character sketches, my PR was like, I thought it was a picture. I was like, no, ma'am. It's like an essay. And she's like, well, put it on Wattpad. I said, why would you suggest I put anything on a platform that's notorious for getting your work stolen? No, I'm not going to do that. But once again, 5 years ago, I probably would have been like, oh, well, maybe she knows something I don't know. And I would have probably folded. So where I am now, MJ now, is like, yeah, no. I set my boundaries with everything book-related. This is what I will do. This is what I will not do. And that goes into my marketing. It goes into my writing. It goes into every aspect of my writing.
And that's very important. That's very important to know that, because a lot of people overwhelm themselves with promotion because they're trying to be on these 20 platforms that their publisher told them they have to be on. They're trying to do all these interviews. They're trying to do podcasts. They're trying to do, and before they know it, they've missed their deadline because they're trying to do everything that they think they're supposed to do. You know, and promotion is all about building your relationship with your authors, with your readers. You can't build relationships when you're on 15 million platforms, unless you're going to be on 15 million platforms every day. And who has time for that? You know? So you don't have time for that. Ms. Vanessa, you have anything you want to say?
Well, I'm kind of split on this one because I have natural tendencies. I'm an introverted extrovert. Right? So my natural tendency is to be in front of my computer doing work. However, if you throw a microphone in front of me, you will get the extrovert. Social media is a very powerful tool, and you do have to zealously guard your image. So, you know, there's things I participate in, there's things I don't. There's things I will say on social media and things I won't. But I have challenged myself to get out there because readers, I want to touch readers wherever they are. There are readers on Facebook, there are readers on Instagram, there's readers on Twitter, there's some on Pinterest, I've heard.
They're there. I promise you, they're on Pinterest.
I'm not, some of them are not my favorite, like Pinterest. But anyway, but
Vanessa, you would love Pinterest. That's all I got to say. You would love it.
Trust me, you name the page, I have one. I visited upon occasion. You will find me on Twitter more than anything. You'll find me on Facebook. I'll do a Facebook Live in a hot minute. But I control the image. So you'll see me in my office. You'll see my research books behind me. You may see some of my favorite authors behind me. I do have some. My daughter's older, and she's my road dog. So we'll do goofy videos. I'm trying to be the cool mom, right? So I'll enlist her in my goofy videos. But you have to decide, just like your other guest said, you have to decide what you want to do, and it has to be authentic because I want people to see I'm approachable. And because now it's more. In the past, it was the book titles, and then they flocked to specific authors, whatnot. But now people want to feel like they know you, like they'll trust that you're going to give them a good story. And so by being out on social media, you're able to do that. But yes, you definitely have to guard your image. You have to guard what kind of stuff you will participate in, what you won't participate in. But when people see you, whether it's on Twitter, or whether they see you on Facebook or Instagram or that thing called Pinterest, they have to see you, and it's got to be you, and it's got to feel right. So once again, I did a thing last year which I called the year of saying yes. So when somebody asked me to do something, as long as it wasn't illegal, I said yes, and I ended up at conferences I never thought I would go to. I went places I never thought I'd be. Drove all over the place. And actually, in hindsight, it's actually good since all of my whole first this year after March got canceled, right? So you'll have to balance it. Once again, you have to know yourself and pick the mediums and the presentation styles that amplify those great aspects on you, because readers want to be able to touch you. They want to be able to see you. They want to understand that there's more than the book. It's somewhat of a relationship. It's almost like relationship marketing. So I've grown more comfortable, doing Facebook Lives, the Facebook parties, being on Twitter mobs, all that kind of fun stuff. But it's once again, you just have to be comfortable. But I am trying to make sure that I am in the places where readers can touch me, readers can see that I'm a real person, that I'm passionate about what I do.
I love that. That is some excellent advice. I tell my clients all the time, you want to be where your readers are. Where are they? where are they hanging out on social media? I had one reader that didn't like Instagram, and so I helped her with that Instagram readers because I do the promotion, and so I put her out there on the promotion thing, and she said, my readers want to know how come I don't have an Instagram page. So she ended up having to, create her own Instagram page because they saw her on my page, so they want to know how come she doesn't have her own page. And so she's like, I didn't want to move to Instagram because she thought it was all about selfies, and I'm like, that's one of the things that you have to learn about the platform. What is the platform about? What do they really do? Someone told me to get on Instagram because I promoted books, and they were like, there's a huge book community on Instagram. And I was like, really? All they do is take, I'm old school. They ain't taking up but selfies. I don't do selfies. And my friend was like, LaShaunda, go look at it. Do your research like you always do and check it out. And I was like, oh, my God, the librarians on here, the book clubs are on here, the reviewers. And I was like, okay, here I am. And I love Instagram. It's introduced me to so many different things. You have to try. Pinterest, I know you don't like Pinterest too much, but for you who does research, Pinterest is the research thing. I got on Pinterest by accident. Somebody posted something about the Titanic, and I love the Titanic stuff. And I got on there. I tell this story all the time. I got on there to look at something about the Titanic. They had a whole section about black people on the Titanic that I knew nothing about. Okay, so I went down into somebody else's page. They had a whole page about all the food they served on the Titanic. I was on that page for like 3 hours. I didn't even realize it. I'm just hitting all these different pages. And I was like, that was just for Titanic. So if you got a subject that you like, there's a Pinterest page for it. You do Regency, I bet you there's 50 million Regency pages, But, again,
yes.
if you don't like it.
Yes, there are.
Don't get on the page. Don't go on there. If you don't like taking pictures, you don't like doing graphics, no, don't get on Instagram because they're going to show you out. I moved to TikTok, if any of y'all know TikTok. I am not a dancer in front of the camera. I love to dance in my kitchen while I'm cooking, but I don't need you to see me doing that. So I have not ventured into the TikTok world of dancing, but I love it for going to watch the people doing their little dances. I laugh for 10 minutes and then I move on to something else, but I found that if I like making videos, so I put my little videos on there with the books, promoting books. And sometimes I get some looks, sometimes it's zero, and I'm like, well, that didn't work. But it's great for learning how to see what work on platforms. You have to go on the platform and figure it out which one works for you because they might not. And your readers aren't there. If your readers aren't talking to you on the platforms, move on to somewhere else. You're talking to 3 people on Facebook every day, and I'm the only 3 people. I'm going to need you to find a new platform because your royalty check is zero. You probably ain't even making the $5 that everybody complain about. So you want to make sure you on platforms where you're talking to people where they're interested in hitting the buy button versus you just on there talking to your cousins. That's not what social media is about. Unless that's all you want to do is just engage with your cousins. Then that's okay. So you have to find a platform that works for you, and that's where your readers are hanging out at. You don't want to hang out at places your readers aren't hanging out at. And they'll tell you. They're like, oh, I love Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. Bam. And you go on Twitter, and people tell me, well, LaShaunda, don't nobody talk to me on Twitter. I said, Twitter is very instant. You can't just get on there and think somebody's going to talk to you and you ain't never been on there before. They're not. They're going to be like, who the hell is that? And keep it moving. You got to ask a question. Yeah.
What I have found is the back matter in your book is really important. To connect with me, hit this link, blah, blah, blah. That's where I've gotten a lot of interaction, is these are people that have actually read my book, so they are looking for me. They hit that little link to follow me. You know what I mean? So it's
That's very important because I tell my clients all the time, you want to have a link to your website, you want to have a link to your mailing list. Because they're going to hit that button. If they want to keep in touch with you, they like your book, they want to find out more information, those 2 links are the most important ones. You can send them to your social media, but send them to your space. then you got them. Then you can get in front of them anytime you want to get in front of them. Social media, you can have 5,000 followers and only 3 people see your stuff. But on your mailing list or your website, those people that come there, they will see it, with no problem. And they want to be there. They're not just there because you gave a free book out. No, they're there because, oh, my God, I love these characters. I want to learn more about her. I want to learn more about the characters. Those are the readers that you're looking for. All right, ladies, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you did, too.
I did. Thank you.
Can you tell us how the readers can get in touch with you or how they can follow you on social media?
You can follow me on my Amazon page. It's author Tiffany Gilbert, and I pretty much, or my email, which is badgirlspublishing2018@gmail.com. I pretty much answer any questions. By far, this was one of my favorite interviews that I've actually been on. Since I wrote this book, I've actually had numerous of interviews, and I think this is like one of my best books. So I actually enjoyed myself tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. MJ?
For me, you can go to authormjgranberry.com. I am all the social media places. I am Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, yes, on Pinterest. And it's the same across all of the platforms. So it's author MJ Granberry. If you Google it, you'll come up with all of my stuff.
Okay.
So,
Vanessa?
You can find me at VanessaRiley.com. That is like my main hub. You'll get all my social media connections, my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. All of them are listed there. You'll also find a wealth of research for my time period, the Regency time period, so you'll know about the migrations from the West Indies, South Africa, to England, my website. So I always love to help people understand a little bit more about our history. But once again, VanessaRiley.com, and I love emails, so hopefully we'll hear some.
I like that you said your hub. I have heard so many authors are getting away from having their website, so I'm so happy that you have a website. Because that's your hub. That's where you send people first. And then if they want to follow you on other places, they can. But when you just focus on social media, you miss out on so much because you have too much competition there. So
exactly, and you own it. That's
your
one thing you own.
Also gives you a platform to sell too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like with my website is you can get the book there, you can find me there, you can, you know what I mean. So I'm still that. It's a hub. I'm still in that.
It is a hub. I call it the home base, your home base, because that's where you are. A lot of people don't want to invest in it, but even if you did a free blog, you're still sending somebody to your space. Social media belongs to somebody else. I was really worried that it was going to shut down with all of us being at home. They were going to crash the internet because all of us was here. But, I had somebody the other day say they were he couldn't make any comments, and I was laughing because I'm like, dude, you're on Facebook jail.
I thought that was next as well.
He didn't know he was on Facebook jail. He just was like, what's going on? I can't make no posts. I can't make comments. What's going on? And I'm like, yeah, he's in Facebook jail. But that's somebody telling you what you can do. You can't say what on their stuff. On your page, you can say whatever you want on your website, So don't sleep on the website. Don't sleep on that. All right. Did you enjoy this episode? Please take a moment to write a review on the platform you are listening to, or send a review to me at LC. Okay, I got the wrong. I'm going to give you my address. Hold on. SORMAG@gmail.com. I love hearing from our listeners. It always makes my day. Would you like to be a guest or sponsor an episode? Send one to SORMAG@gmail.com. I will be happy to have you as a guest. I would like to thank our sponsor for this episode, Virtual Tea with LaShaunda Promotion Strategy Sessions. Check the link in the show notes to schedule your virtual tea session. If you haven't taken time to promote your book or services today, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.